Hey, welcome everybody to the Tuesday night live show. And here's the link. Control V, enter. If you look at the chat box, you can get the link. What we do here is I'll spend about 15 minutes if nobody comes on. I'll kill the stream and we'll start it again. So let me turn this camera up a little bit. Weather's been kind of bad here, and I haven't been able to really paint because the humidity's been high. So I'm still sanding. I know that's about the most boring thing that you can run across is watching somebody sand, but that's what I'm doing. I have to get these jobs done. I've been sanding on them now about 4 days, and I have the Atlas all ready to go, but we're waiting on weather. I'm looking probably Saturdays. It looks like it's going to be good weather for paint on Saturday. I hope. Going to be going to the Toledo show. I'm going to take the camera to Toledo and we'll shoot some footage of that. I guess Jerry and I are going to spend Friday there. I don't think we're going to spend 2 days there, but I don't know. I'm kind of riding with him. So that'll be good. Get to see what the Toledo show is like. They got 5 viewers in there. Check the chat stream. There's the link in there. I'll put it up again real quick. The people who are just coming on. You know what? Let's do it from over here. No, I won't mess with it. Because then I got to log into that computer. Control V. Nope, come on. So there you go. You got that link. Grab that link. Turn on your camera. You come on in. Say hello to me. Whatever. What I'm doing here is I'm getting my area ready for some hardcore sanding. I'm about to sand it out. Okay, give me a second. I'll get an airplane. So let's using 320. I make some small strips. So much sanding, it's ridiculous. We got 6 watchers, no talkers. Come on, guys. I know it's got to be boring to watch me sand. I know it's boring to talk to myself, that's for sure. This is primer that I made. Seems to be working okay. the proof is always in the end, though. Seven watchers, no talkers. Come on, guys. I gotta get over and pick up some more paint tomorrow. No, Jerry, I'm not going to Wicks. I'm going to Napa. I got enough. I got enough Wicks material to last this trip. I got enough to paint the clear on the Atlas. Enough thinner. I got enough white for these. I'll have to make another trip for the other one, the other two airplanes. So we got 5 viewers. In order to make these at the benches interesting, somebody's got to come in and talk to me, because this is not a comedy. You know what? I think I'm going to take my hat off before it gets all dusty. We got 10 viewers now. Come on, somebody. Hit that button. Come on in and chat. You're new here. Everybody's welcome. I've still got dust on it. Weather's supposed to be pretty crappy tomorrow. It's supposed to have light rain or whatever. I just can't paint in the rain. It just blushes up. Yeah, just smear some shit on it. Oh, man. So this is the aqua green that I talked about. I'm going to put some of that on there. It's 05096 3M aqua green. Don't use much. If you use more than a quarter ounce, you'll have an airplane that weighs 1,000 pounds. I use a razor blade to spatula it on. It dries relatively quick. About 5 minutes, we can come back and sand that. When you're doing your fillets with Superfill, make sure that you use the alcohol method. That makes it a lot easier to sand out when you get to this state right here. For you guys that are following along with my finishing technique. Yeah, we'll get this one. We'll get this one white before I go. Gotta go back to work. So thankful to have some type of job. I hope everything straightens out. This economy. Yeah, I'm not worried about making it perfect. 6. Come on, guys, get in here. We usually have a few that come in and visit me. I left a description, or a link in the description. If you'd like to help my channel, you can click on that link or whatever and send whatever you can. Help me keep these videos going. Everything that I get for a stunt hanger goes back in a stunt hanger, and it ain't like I'm getting rich on this, that's for sure. Can't make no money in the model business. $11 viewers, no talkers. Come on, guys. Click on look in the description box on the right there, or the chat box. You'll see a link. Come on in and talk to me. For you guys that are on Stunt Hanger, you can find it at the bench at stunthanger.com. I think maybe you have to be logged into Google, into YouTube to join the chat. I think that's why some don't do it. And I don't really blame you. With all the spying and shit that's going on. This sandpaper, this is open coat gold sandpaper from Lowe's. Probably the best stuff I've ever run across. It does not clog up. Talking to Tom Creasy about his Rapidograph pens. He's going to buy some on eBay. I'll tell you about eBay Rapidograph pens. You can get some great deals, but you got to be willing to take the gamble. Most of the people that use Rapidograph pens don't clean them. And so what you end up with is you have the outside of the pen, but when you shake it, the piston won't go up and down. Now, some of those pens you can bring back to life, but not all. And the tip for one of those pens is $22. So you might as well have just bought one new pen and saved yourself the aggravation. But if you're willing to take the gamble, you can get a nice set for around $50 or $60. Who we got here?
Tim Redelman.
Hey, Tim, how you doing? You got it? Okay. We're getting feedback on your channel.
Yeah, shut it off. Is it okay still?
Yeah, you had two windows open, right?
Yeah, I had my phone going at the same time to see if it was working.
Where are you from?
Northwest Indiana. I bought your Continental XL.
All right. You like that airplane, huh?
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask you about the, you're doing handicap conversions over there?
Yeah.
So you have to ask the guy if he's ever heard of Ralph Braun.
Oh, I'm sure he has. We put in Braun lifts.
Yeah, there you go. That's the field I fly at. He built that.
Yeah,
He was
cool.
a good friend of the family.
Yeah, I'm glad that airplane made it there back to you in one piece. You know, I knew he was an RC guy, and he was, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean from Chuck that came and got it from you? Yeah. He's okay.
Yeah.
He was an airline pilot for TWA, I think.
What did he think of it when he saw it?
Oh, I don't know. They don't. A lot of people don't see things how I see them, Sparky. Maybe the way we see them, I should say.
Well, that airplane, when I sold it to you, was 7 years old.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know when that was. How long ago was it already? It's over a year.
2 years.
2 years, yeah. So it's 9. It's still there.
Yeah. Motor running good.
Oh yeah. I'd like to build one like it someday. I got too many irons in the fire. My buddy over here, he says I got too many things going at once, and I say, well, every once in a while I pull out one of those irons and start beating on it with a hammer and turn it into a horseshoe. So,
Yeah.
whenever that one gets its call, So how many of those you working on there at once? 4?
Yeah.
It's a lot of sanding, buddy.
4 of these paint jobs. And then I got clear on the Atlas, which this is I don't know. Have you seen my Monado? And
yeah,
okay, the Monado is a Continental XL, and so is this Atlas. Have you seen the Atlas?
Is that the purple one?
Yeah.
And it's not done then yet.
No, I'm waiting on decent weather for clear. We got our weather is so crappy here. If you got overcast and moisture in the air, the clear will. It doesn't look right. So
when you're in the house there doing it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. I've been in Washington D.C. working down the street from the King.
If it was summertime and it was humid outside, it wouldn't matter because I turned the air conditioner on, and then the air conditioner would take the humidity out of the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're in that in-between season now, aren't we? Just wishing it would get nice out.
Right.
I'm in Washington, D.C. working, and it's been nice a few days here. It doesn't matter when you're working if it's nice or not, but it's nice to look out there once in a while and see the sunshine and not be freezing.
You working on the Trump campaign?
No, I do these kitchens, and it just happens to be right down the street from there. And he's already drove by a few times. All the sirens are going and black cars and limousines and.
Cool.
Yeah, it's something to see, I guess. It's a lot different here than Chicago, which is I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, but it's a lot different than Indiana.
Do you fly with Mike Schmidt?
Larry Fruits.
Yeah, I know Larry.
He lives about probably only a half hour away from me.
His building got better. His airplane looked good.
Oh yeah, he does a beautiful job. Those retired guys, Robert, they got plenty of time.
Yeah. Well, I'm semi-retired. I work 2 weeks a month now.
So what are you doing over there?
Installing Braun lifts and transfer seats and raised doors.
Okay.
It's
pretty cool deal, isn't it? They put a lot of thought into that stuff.
Yeah, I like the job and the guys that I work with, and how I got the job is I built airplanes for the guy.
His name Jerry?
Yep.
I think he used to drive Ralph's motorhome for him sometimes. Does he have a motorhome?
Not that I've seen.
No, okay. There was a guy that it was named Jerry, and I can't remember if he was from Ohio or not. Someday when you're coming back from there, if you're not in a big hurry, you should stop in Winnemac, and I'll take you over there and see the factory.
Where is Winamac?
Are you familiar with golfing?
No, Jerry's a golfer.
If you come out of Indianapolis and go straight north, it's like halfway between Indianapolis and a dog leg left. So you go straight north for a while, and then you'd have to go, to the west. But it's probably straight west of Fort Wayne. Quite a ways though. It's about so you're from St. Yeah, it wouldn't really be on your way, would it? Is it in Dayton that you go to?
Dayton, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's way out of my way.
Yeah, if I go to Dayton, I go down to Indianapolis and then I go east. Have you gone to the Air Museum while you're over there?
I've been 4 times. My channel's got a couple movies on there.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, so since I've been in Washington D.C. here, if you ever get over here, the Udvar Hazy, it's at the Dulles Airport. That's amazing. Probably one of the best air museums I've ever been to. And then Sunday I went to the Air and Space Museum, which was kind of cool, but the other one was probably more like modelers or airplane nuts would want to see because you can walk right up on everything, pretty much.
The Smithsonian's there, isn't it?
Yeah, and well, that's another part of it. So it's a newer part of the, aviation part, but the Air and Space Museum right downtown, which is where I'm working, in the district, as they call it, I like it more to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, which maybe you've never been to, but it's kind of like more geared towards kids and just people who don't know that much about aviation or airplanes. This is a piston, this is a crankshaft, this is what valves look like, but also some pretty cool, engines mounted on stands, and they had the Wright Flyer there. They had that airplane that Howard Hughes made, I don't even know what it was called. The one from in the movie where Odie had to get all the rivets off it, whatever. And a lot of other cool stuff, P-51s and Spitfires and Fokker triplane and a little bit of everything. Pretty neat. So you made your own primer there. I watched you do that. How's that sand compared to the 540?
Surprisingly, just as well.
Yeah.
Got a lot of talc in it, though. That's why.
I just bought some of that from Randy's, and I haven't never used it. Never did that before, so.
Well, we used to use
In Washington, D.C., I haven't touched any of my airplanes in quite a while.
Well, you got one good one to fly. Are you a advanced or intermediate flyer?
Probably do intermediate again at the Nats, and then hopefully stay around for advanced, maybe. Isn't that how they do it? That's what Larry said they do usually.
Yeah, well, advanced runs right along with the open guys.
Yeah. I probably could have did pretty good in intermediate last year, but I blew 2 maneuvers and didn't know the proper approach to the overhead 8, like face the area you're going to pull up, right? And
when you come around this way, when you turn up it into the wing over, you want to be facing the wind.
Right.
Pull up into the wind, and you go around over your head like that.
Yep.
And
yeah, I did it. Went right into the sun and couldn't tell where the heck it was going, and blew that. And then then on the second flight, the vertical 8, instead of doing a complete loop and then another half loop into the outside loop, I just did a half a loop into the outside loop, and they're holding their hands up in the air like, what's he doing?
Did you fly the Continental?
Nah, I flew a Legacy. I tried to control myself and not tear the Continental up, and I went through. I didn't go through too many planes really. I flew some control line planes when I was a kid, so it wasn't like I was a rank beginner. But I never did the pattern or anything until I don't know if it was last year, the beginning of last year.
Well, you got a good airplane that,
Oh, it's the best flying one I got, no doubt about it.
that airplane got me within a third of a point. I top 21st at the Nats in '07 with that one.
Yeah, it really does fly good. I mean, and that engine is amazing. And I bought 2 more of those motors from Randy and got all kinds of stuff I need to work on. But
You already get your motors?
I got one of them. I got one, and I don't know. I'm not pestering them for them. I figure there's other guys that are probably waiting too. You know.
I'm waiting to get one.
I also have done quarter 40 pylon racing and at the Nats, you know, and that Mike Langlois is, you know, working with Randy, I guess, and man, he does beautiful work too. And
Like the
Randy
guy
really
who makes
knows
those
his
motors
stuff.
for the 40s, the Quickie 40s, and
Yeah,
the PAs is Henry Nelson.
yeah, yeah. No, it's just beautiful.
How's
I
everybody
can't
tonight?
see that you'd want to use anything else, and I know electric's pretty popular now, but I like running engines and smelling fuel and going home with it on my hands and stuff.
Hey, Daryl.
How's it going?
Hey,
Hi.
Daryl.
Howdy.
How's the Great White North?
It's turning brown.
Where do you live?
Alberta.
I don't even know where that is. I have some friends in
Texas, northern Texas.
Yeah,
north
it's
of
like
Texas.
Kansas,
Okay.
Texas. In the west.
What's north of Detroit there?
Windsor.
Yeah, no,
Ontario, yeah.
more east, I guess. What's the big city there?
Toronto.
Toronto. Yeah, that's where I got some friends there.
One reason why I know Windsor, when I drove truck, I had to drive a couple loads over there.
Yeah, I've been there before. I lived in Detroit for a while, in a suburb of Detroit called Rochester Hills, with my parents when I was young.
That's all Dearbornistan now, isn't it?
What is it?
Dearbornistan.
Dearbornistan. Yeah, probably so. Don't even get me started.
Soon.
This has been an eye opener over here. I was driving down the street the other day, and there's one of those, without getting too rough, what the hell? Hare Krishna guy on the corner with a microphone and a speaker and singing the Hare Krishna thing, you know? I wanted to video it just so I could show my friends or something with my phone, and I thought, well, maybe that's just being too mean. I don't know.
So I would have.
Yeah. Oh, he was doing the whole thing, man. He had it on a piece of paper or a noteboard that was probably 2 feet wide and 4 feet tall, had all the words on it.
Did he have his bed sheet on?
He did, and he had this like gold thing that went down his nose, and you know,
Was he
it was
doing
like watching Ben-Hur or something. I don't know.
doing his finger symbols?
I didn't see that. No, he was just, he had a microphone, I think, in one hand, and it's pretty wild here. It's our nation's capital, and all the things you see here are something else, boy.
You see Trey Gowdy, buy him a beer, I'll pay you back.
Yeah, I told some of my buddies I was just here to watch out for Ivanka and Melania and keep an eye on them while I've been here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not really why I'm here.
Trey Gowdy is my hero. That guy, he's not very old either. I think he's 53, but boy, he's a bulldog.
I never paid a whole lot of attention to all politics and that. My father did. And my mom would always talk about him. He's in the front room watching the Yellers and the Screamers, watching Hannity and Combs.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, these won't be quite as nice as my Continental, but I just don't want to put that much work in them.
Yeah, it's kind of, they say that about scale airplanes. So a scale airplane's never done, you just quit working on it. kind of the same thing, right?
Well, my scale airplane's done. I built it. Got about 10 flights on it. I won a first place with it at Rodex and a third place at the Nationals with it. That's enough. It's hung up.
What's the maneuvers? You don't do the whole pattern, right? It's less than the whole pattern, right?
Yeah. It's let me see here. They got a book. I got a book here.
Uh-huh.
And
You got to have that's your
documentation.
Yeah.
And it's the 3 views of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the color chart.
Got to have color chips there, do you?
Yeah. Then picture of it.
Mm-hmm. Of the real one.
Yeah. I have the FAA registration for it in here, for the real one. And, oh crap, I lost the sheet, the maneuver
Flight
sheet.
schedule.
Let's see here. I don't know what it was. Anyway, it's takeoff, landing, throttle control, high flight. You can do a wing over, touch and go. It's like nothing.
Right.
When I was at Brodex, the guy said, "Well, aren't you going to practice fly your airplane?" I said, "Why? You tear it up. I don't want to. I don't want to fly it that much." He goes,
Yeah.
"So you know how to fly it?" I said, "If I can't take off and land, I better quit."
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's not like we get a choice, right?
Yeah, most of them scale guys, they don't start their engines, so they don't break them in. They don't start their engines all year or whatever. They don't fly, but as a stunt flyer, if you can't take off and land, you're kind of done.
Yeah, they used to. I've been to Top Gun a few times there in Florida, and a few years ago, he didn't have the classes he has now, and a lot of those guys were really good modelers, but they didn't fly. So, the first couple days would be guys crashing and stuff. It sounds like the same type of deal. You're not putting a lot of flights in and you're not getting a lot of flying practice. You're not going to do real good,
Well, them guys that are scale flyers, there was one guy there that had some type of crop duster airplane. He won static sports scale, or maybe it was realistic scale.
For the control line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. This airplane, you could tell this guy had a ton of work in it. He almost crashed it. First off, these guys are considerably older than I am. They're 75 and 80 years old. I don't know how old he was, probably 75. And so he got dizzy. He's not used to fly. They just spend too much time building them, they don't fly.
Right. Yeah, that's how they were too. That's how it was when I was a kid too. I remember going to the field and these guys would have beautiful airplanes and they'd tear them up, and it was like they had spent more time building than flying, It was a shame. So these airplanes you're doing, are they all for one guy or just whoever?
I did 11 of them or 10 of them for one guy. Yeah.
Wow, okay. That's an electric one there, huh?
Yeah.
What do you think of all that accelerometer stuff and all that I see on there? Do you pay attention to the electric side of this or not really?
I got electric stuff if you want to buy it. I got a charger. I got the programmer boxes. I got the best batteries money can buy. I got all that shit. I'm going to sell it all.
I like running engines. I always did.
I ought to take it with me to Dayton. I think Jerry might want it. I ought to call him and ask him, see what he give me for it.
Yeah. How about that paper they're talking about on there? What do you think of that stuff?
I got a roll of it, and I did try it. It works. It's going to work just fine.
So you'd go with that?
Oh yeah.
That doctor's paper you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that operating bed toilet paper.
Yeah, this stuff.
Yeah, it's a big roll, huh?
Yeah, well, I went in to see one of the doctors last week and I mentioned it. I said, where do you get that shit? He said, here, take it.
Maybe that's used stuff.
I was wondering where all this blood came from.
Does it feel like, is that stuff there you got feel like silk span, Daryl?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, more papery though.
Yes.
So what would be your choice? That or
It seems like the grain's going the wrong way.
what would be your choice? That or polyspan, or it depends on the airplane you're doing.
I like polyspan. Now let me qualify this. I really like polyspan for its durability. You can't beat it.
Yeah, because I'm kind of ham-fisted.
However, if you're looking for sheer performance and weight, you can't beat silk span. Actually, you can't beat Jap tissue, but it's so hard to work with. But this stuff here is lighter than silk span. And what I'll talk about, am I worried about using this paper? No, because what makes the silk span strong is the dope. It turns into plastic. It's a cellulite or cellulose plastic.
Yeah, binds the fibers together and the whole
Right.
deal.
So your strength is the paint. It's not really the paper.
Right. It's kind of like when you have a piece of fiberglass. It's not super strong till you put epoxy on it.
Fiberglass cloth is pretty damn strong without a.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. It's you could pull it apart, you know. What's that, a Focke Wolf?
Yeah, it's
You got about everything hanging up in there that you could possibly have, don't you?
well, this is nothing.
See that blue one? That's how my silk span would be after a week.
This one here?
No, the dark blue one. In
Oh,
front of
yeah.
that one.
That airplane's older than I am. My great uncle built that in the late 50s.
What is that? Is that a shoestring?
Yeah. Yeah, that's been around longer than me.
Well, that Continental that you got, that's polyspan.
Yeah, it feels really strong, and I haven't done anything stupid with it, and I haven't actually done a covering job like that myself. Now I've amassed all the stuff to do it on the projects I'm working on, but like I said, I'm in Washington D.C.
I gave some pretty good online tutorials on how to do polyspan.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable. I'll probably be able to do that okay because I can put monocoat on pretty good. I'm just not good at coming up with paint scheme designs, you know, like you did on what's the orange and white one you just did?
June
The
RXL.
Gene RXL. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not good at that kind of stuff. So I like to take a whole bunch of pictures of airplanes and I pick what I think are the cool things from each one. And
I added some more stuff to that. Did you see that?
no, I saw you had it on the table the other night and it looks good. Have you rubbed on it more or no?
Not really. It's
No, it looks
Yeah.
shiny.
oh yeah, it's shiny.
I finished that ring rat.
Is that the same one they're using at the Joe Null
I don't know.
when they're letting guys fly?
Probably, yeah.
Looks like that.
Yeah, it's a Stevens Arrow ring rat. Took
I'd
me
like to
far-
go over there for that
Okay.
tutorial deal they're going to do there this year.
Okay, what I added this week is I added the lady, the girl. Can you see that?
Yeah,
Turn it up there. I added the girl on the outside.
okay. Mm-hmm.
Yesterday I added my Wix decal. It's not a decal, it's painted on it, but
Yeah, did you do paint masks for those?
oh yeah. Yeah, I don't use any decal. Everything on this airplane is paint.
Paint on, yeah. I'd like to learn how to do that whole paint mask stuff. I'm pretty computer illiterate. I'm surprised I was able to figure out how to get this hooked up here.
About $300, you can buy yourself a sign cutting machine, and
Yeah, it doesn't. How hard is it though with all the software and stuff?
I gave a tutorial on that too.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, but you got to be half-assed computer savvy. You can't.
Mm-hmm. I have friends that are, so I'd be able to call people and say, "Hey, what am I doing wrong?" But
You can pull a JPEG in and trick like this here. I pulled the girl.
mm-hmm.
I pulled a JPEG and the Wix emblem here. I pulled a JPEG off the internet, and I pulled this girl off a trucker's.
Yeah, for the mud flaps or whatever.
Yeah, and you pull a JPEG off, and then you pull it into the program, and you just hit trace, and it turns a JPEG into a vector file, which is a DFX file.
Right.
Size it to whatever size you're going to do, and send it to the printer. Printer does all the work for you.
The cutter.
Yeah, the cutter. It's a printer, but yeah, cutter.
Same type of thing. You're sending it over there just like you would be sending it to print something.
Right.
Instead, you're cutting it. Yeah. You have a good friend of mine in Chicago that he does he works for the company that makes the placemats for the McDonald's trays. Like when you go into McDonald's and it's got that piece of paper on there that says, whatever, eat a cheeseburger today or whatever.
God, yeah.
He's pretty good at all that. So sometimes I think about buying one. What's a decent cutter cost? $300 for real?
Yeah, U.S. cutters. What I bought. I mean,
Uh-huh. And did you get that off their website, or I've seen it on eBay before too?
I got it on Amazon. The reason I got the cutter is I had to do all those airplanes,
Right.
and the sign shop charges $25 an airplane to do them. So if you got 10 airplanes at $25, that's $250 worth.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so you might as well did it.
Get the cutter and to do it myself.
Yeah.
So now I'm able to cut what I want.
Right. And most of it is you're using that paint mask vinyl, right? There's this particular kind you use for paint masks, right?
That's all I use is a low-tech paint mask vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like that.
Right. Is that see-through?
No, I mean, yeah, you can see through it, but
Like if you had some, I don't know, lines you wanted to line up with it to position it, would you be able to see through it or not really?
that's not how you index a mask. You index a mask by cutting it off at the bottom here,
Uh-huh.
laying it up where you want it, then you put a piece of masking tape on it and roll this back and then peel the backing off. And
You put it where you want it, yeah.
but you have this is before it has the transfer tape on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see this or not, but this here has transfer tape on top
Yeah,
of it.
I've used them, but I mean, I've used ones that other people made before.
Right.
ProMark. But, and then he also sometimes put a dot on there where if you had something like your XL at the back and you wanted to outline it with black, you would line up the two dots.
Right.
So you do one and then put the other one on top of it, and the dots would index it on top of there. But not everybody does that either, I don't think. Guess it's more work.
I do it sometimes. But it depends on what the
What you
project is.
Right on.
But you've been following the channel, I take it then.
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, yeah, more of a lurker, you know. And when I first started to kind of want to come back and do this, you know, it was nice that you had all the information that you have had out there. And I watched some of the Windy videos, you know, and stuff like that. And
I can take no credit for 90%, 99% of what's on Stunt Hanger. That's everybody else that's
Right.
put that on. All I've done is provide a place for it to be and
yeah,
been the referee.
yep, because you got to be. And but I mean, even the stuff that you do with your videos and all that, you know, watching the videos is real helpful. And you see how people do stuff. I mean, I've been a modeler since I was 11. I bought my first RC plane cut in the grass. And before that, I had, you know, Cox control line planes and all that. So I've been doing it for a long time, but there's a lot of differences with this than there is in RC. And it's a lot of different applications, you know, the way that you run the engines and everything, and the fuels you use, the glow plugs you use, the props you use, everything's totally different. And, you know, there's a lot to learn for me.
Well, I'm originally from California, and I was taught by some of the best, I mean, the top modelers, best finisher I ever saw, even better than Windy. That's a guy named Tom Warden.
Uh-huh.
And he was our testers rep. And basically, you know, I've been doing this all my life, 55 years. I'm older than that, obviously, but, you know, since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I came on the other forum, and you know, I look at some of this stuff, and these guys were giving expert opinions on how to build, and it was nowhere near close. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to do my own thing and show people what I know. So that's why I got this stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing. I think that I always look at it like this: if it was you, and if it was me, and if it was two other guys, and each of us had 100 hours to do something, you're going to have 4 completely different things in the end, right? Because everybody's going to work as hard as they can, and the final outcome is going to be based on what your experiences are, right?
Correct.
And how you were taught to do stuff. So one thing I think about the hobby is, and I'm talking about RC or control line or anything, is there's so many ways you can get satisfaction from it. Some guys buy airplanes and have other guys build them, and they watch someone else fly them, and you think, how could that be any fun? Well, you know what? They're having fun doing it. Let them do it their way, you know?
Right.
And I've always been, I built cabinets when I was younger in a cabinet shop, which is how I learned how to do I just do installations. I don't actually build them, but they're super expensive. They come from Germany. It takes like 3 months to get them. If you cut something wrong, you don't go get another one. You either need to know how to make it look like you didn't screw it up, or you got to fess up to it. And now they go, well, Robert, I already paid for my kitchen, so I don't think I should pay for that piece. And the showroom doesn't think they should have to pay for it. That's going to be your fault, you know? So
that's what's called pulling a rabbit, because I worked in a cabinet shop too.
Yeah. I think it's not your skills. It's how you are about covering something up that you made a mistake. You know what I'm saying?
There are no mistakes.
Yeah, it's just how you cover it up.
Slightly deviations.
Yeah, slight deviation from plan. I like that about Windy's videos. Sometimes he would screw something up. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say screw something up, but you know what I mean? It didn't go the way he thought it was going to go. And he just keeps on going, doesn't let him bother him, and he figures out a way to work with what happened, you know, and that's really what you need to do in life in general, I think.
That's the same what I do. I mean,
Yep.
that's basically why I don't like working from plans, because if you're working from plans, like I did with this Nobler, which has been changed structurally,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they have a set way to do things. Well, my airplane ended up with the right numbers, and it looks like a Nobler,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not built like a Nobler inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I found that I know how to do it better.
Yeah, well, you know, you learn things over the years, right? And you want to incorporate those ideas. You don't want to, that airplane was a good airplane when it was in its day, right? But now you could actually make it better balsa, better linkages, better control systems, better engines, so.
I have another nobler wing sitting over there in the corner. I'm going to break up and throw in the trash, but it ended up with a twist in it. And I wanted to build it right to the plans. So I bought a set of ribs from a Brodak set of ribs, and I cut a spar, and I, did it right like they say you do it in the plans. And when I ended up with the final thing, that thing was like a propeller. I go, I remember now. That's why I don't build D-tube wings.
Yeah.
They might be strong, but there's no way to attach the sheeting without building a warp into it if you want to do it quick.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you want to use a Signet, white glue,
and pins,
ambroid, and pin all that shit together and wait for a week,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing I learned about all this and studying up on it is how many different ways there is to build a wing. Let's say I got that book from Tom Morris, where it shows his Lincoln, I think it's called the Lincoln Log Wing or something like that. And just lots of different ways that in watching you do like the I-beam wing and stuff like that, I never knew that was a way that you'd build a wing, So that's all interesting stuff, and for me, it's made it real exciting to be in a different part of the hobby.
I don't think I've built a true I-beam on video yet. I built I have a wing sitting over there that is a
Millennium Wing or something.
Yeah, it's a deviation from Tom Morris's setup.
Mm-hmm.
But a true I-beam. The reason I like I-beams is when you turn the airplane upside down on the glass and build it, everything is zero. Now think about this. The motor mounts are sitting flat on the glass, and that's zero. The elevator stabilizer is sitting flat on the glass, and that's zero. Mm-hmm. So if you set your beam in square at 90 degrees, that's zero. And the same with the leading and trailing edges. As long as you make the leading edge, let's say 1 3/4 off the deck and another 1 3/4 at the center line on the trailing edge. So you have 0, 0, 0. Perfect. You can't screw it up if your table's flat.
Right.
So I like the alignment part. So that's where I came up with my alignment system that you'll see I have a video on, on how I align these up.
Right.
Now, it's exactly like building an I-beam, only you're building components instead.
Right. I saw when you did the squared that airplane up, and you put it upside down on there, didn't you? And then you drew basically an airplane.
Right.
Square, square accurate lines that you could line it up to.
Right. You zero the center line and square the trailing edge to that center line, and same with the trailing edge for the elevator stabilizer, and then it's just a matter of putting them, measuring up. With doing the true fit fuselage way with the plug, you can't make mistakes. I mean, you have to be a real dork.
Yeah, well, that might be me.
Well,
I've been working on a couple of Shrikes, and I got the fuselage. I made my first mold buck thing, like you did, or like you borrowed from
Chris. Yeah,
Chris.
I got it sitting over there. Yeah.
Yep, I made that first time I ever did that. That was interesting. And what else? I got the wings. I cheated. I got the wings done by Bob Hunt because I wanted them to be straight.
Bob Hunt's a good wing builder.
Oh man, his workmanship is awesome, and it's light, and he's super easy to get along with, and does it like a job, man. He doesn't screw around,
Right.
Super good guy, I think, and always has time for you. And I guess it's an added expense, but it's I'd rather spend that money and have those straight wings, and I'm still gonna have to join them and put the flap and hinge them and everything, but it just helped me get a lot more done with a checkbook. My friend used to say, "Yeah, I build that with a pen and a checkbook." And
Well,
I don't
the
like
best,
to look at it that way, but it's true.
the best thing you can do is, if you want to build that Bob Hunt wing, is buy the Bob Hunt video.
Well, I'd like to do the lost foam thing, and I look at that and I go, well, what airplane do I want to possibly be able to build multiple ones for? So if you're going to buy that whole lost foam jig, you probably want to build more than one airplane, right? Maybe
I got about 15 or 20 lost foam jigs in the basement
for
different stuff. Geobolt wings, and I have 10% Aries, and I did just whatever I designed up. I'd send tell Bob this is what I want, the root and the tip, and I have him cut me up a jig, because you can't get any more accurate than that unless you're building a beam wing.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, because it all sits in those shucks and
right, that's his design, and I really like building lost foam. It's quick, it's easy. He calls it walk building, and it takes a while. I have a full wing, another one of these cut out over there, and the parts are all ready to go. So the easy part, or the hard part, is done. That takes about a day to cut all the ribs out and hollow them and all that
stuff. Yeah.
But it takes 10 minutes to put the wing together. It goes boop, 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 and it's done.
And then you have all the proper angles on all of those.
Yeah.
You sanded them to match that foam.
Right.
Does it wreck the foam pieces when you're sanding it? You just got to be careful.
If you buy Bob Hunt's video, there's two, just one, I think. Yeah, one. The lost foam jig. He says to take what is that stuff? That polyurethane.
Oh, like Minwax or something?
Minwax polyacrylic, and paint the outsides of them, or you can use thinned down white glue.
So you don't use it then?
So you don't ruin the pattern.
Right.
But if you're careful, I did that on the first few of them, and it's just extra work. I said, I forget that. I just sand down till it touches the foam with 320 and then stop sanding. You don't want to keep sanding them black.
Right. Yeah.
So, no, you don't have to. He also says to put a spine on the back of the mold buck for the leading edge. But as long as you're not, bare hooking this thing, you're not going to build a warp into it. You just hold it straight and lay the wood on and then wrap it gently. I don't have any spines on anything anymore. I have spines on my Thunderbolt top and bottom mold bucks. I built 5 Thunderbolts off of them mold bucks, and I'm probably done with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. That was an interesting way to do that. I thought that also watched those. Someone posted what's his name, that had the Bearcat and the P-51.
Al Rabe?
Al Rabe, yeah. I also watched his, videos that he made, and that's also an interesting way to build that stuff. I mean, it's totally different than RC, because RC, no one cares about weight,
Al Rabe is probably the grandfather of molding wood. I mean, I know that it was done in the 40s, but Al Rabe kind of brought it around to the forefront with his Bearcats and the scale airplanes he did. And the reason why he did it that way is the airplane had to be light. And I could look at like that critical mass that he flew. I knew that airplane was super heavy just by the shine that was on it. You can't paint urethane on an airplane and get that car looking shine and expect it to be light. And I think he said it was 90 ounces. Wow.
Oh, that's pretty fat, huh?
It's really fat.
What's pretty typical for a 75 powered airplane? What's the weight?
I would say anywhere 60 ounces on the low side and 75 on the high side.
High side, yeah. But that's still probably not too bad compared to 90.
Even at 75, when you got like the Continental, I don't know what it weighs. I think it's 70 something. With that much wing on that airplane, it doesn't fly like a heavy airplane.
Oh, that's the best flying airplane I ever flew, and not that I have any experience to speak from, but from my other airplanes, the thing about it is like I have this Legacy, and I tried a bunch of different engines on it last year, and I started paying attention to like wing area and all this stuff, and how big it is. And then I read on the forums about, well, you'd like to have 640-ish, with this size engine, blah, blah, blah. And it's quite a bit bigger than that. And I started with a Rojet 61, then I tried a PA 51, then I tried a PA 65, and then I tried a K 77, which was awesome. And that's what I think I'm just going to leave on there. But the monocoat on it keeps coming off. And I just want an airplane like yours that I got that when it's painted, it's kind of like a bag, right? I mean, it's sealed everywhere. All of it has got paint everywhere. So you don't have it getting underneath the monocoat and lifting the monocoat. And Larry says, put that Minwax stuff on there. Well, it's kind of too late now. It's got oil all over it. But it's been a good airplane, and it really got me through, I have 2 Vector ARFs and that thing, and those airplanes really got me through to the point now where I won't feel so bad if I build something. I probably won't tear it up, make dumb mistakes or whatever. So I think it was a good thing,
If you're going to make dumb mistakes, don't do it with the Continental.
No, that's why it's pretty much sat. I've probably got 10 or 15 flights on it. I just didn't want to wreck it. Now I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, but don't get overconfident. That's when shit happens.
Yeah, no.
I've met you before in person. I remember you from the Nats.
Yeah.
And you remember me. I'm not really a big guy, so that's why the 70-ounce airplanes in the wind are just a handful for me. And that's why this airplane's come about. This is 56 ounces.
How many square inches is that?
Close to 700.
Okay, so it's still. The other thing that I've had to learn is, so most of the time I've done a radio control hobby. I was a Bob Violet Models representative. Horizon Hobby representative. I've played with jets mostly. So when I look at the jet forum, I know who's full of shit. And when I read this forum, I don't know nothing about it. And one guy to the next guy, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about, maybe what he doesn't, So that's been interesting for me, is trying to piece together the ones that know what they're talking about and the ones that maybe not so much. Does that make sense to you? I don't mean to be rude or mean. I'm being honest, and
Send me a message. I can tell you who knows what.
Yeah, well, yeah, and and you hate to, you don't really want to say that out loud or whatever, but I've watched it and read it, and there's different opinions, and there's East Coast, West Coast, no love, and all. but
Well, I'm going to throw out a few things to help people along to think. When I talk about different things on the forum, like offset and bell crank location, and the cord width and tail moment and all these different things. There's a million different ways to get to the end, but the way to look at it is, I'm looking for something that along the 1950s and 1960s era, where it runs along like this and it just turns like that. And this airplane has come close to that. But you're not going to, that airplane will do it because it's 40 ounces, but I'm not sure that it's going to do it with this much concentrated weight in the nose. And if anybody says you can't feel that weight in the nose, they're full of crap, because when I fly in the electric airplanes, I can feel that brick in the nose. And it doesn't matter where it's balanced at, They say, well, you don't have the balance. It does not matter. That concentrated mass, a big brick,
Right.
you can, wherever that is, you can feel it.
Well,
And
that's also like, you see guys say, oh, it should be 0.000, and then the next guy says, oh no, I use 1.5 degrees offset on my motor. I don't run any no offset. I use offset on the rudder. I don't use any offset on the runner. No, you need this much moment, and then the thing kind of struck me funny was the thickness of the stab versus the thickness of your elevator, and oh, that gives you a little soft spot in there. And then some people talk about having slop in the linkage, and some people talk about having the leading edge of the stab up just a hair. And so all of those things, for my radio control stuff, I know a lot of crap like that too, that if you want to sit there and listen to me, I'll tell you everything I know. And maybe you can absorb some of it. Maybe what I know isn't what the next guy knows, but I got a pretty good handle on it. And it's like, so I'm trying to get an understanding of what's really how I should put these two airplanes together that I'm spending a lot of time on,
Well, let me run this down to you. I work off the TLAR, and that stands for that looks about right.
Yep.
And the common sense method. Okay, so as far as offset, well, we got guys that are world champions that run 0 offset. Well, that's great, but you're going to have to fly faster in overhead because gravity is something you're not going to get away from. So to have tension overhead, you're either going to have to be hauling ass or have, I use 3 degrees offset.
Okay.
To hold it up there, because you got no centrifugal force when you're overhead.
Right.
And I don't care what anybody says, it's not there. Can't be. So that's what I do. Now, as far as asymmetry, I like about a 1/2 inch of asymmetry.
So
And
1/2 inch more on which side? Is it the outside or inside?
Inboard side. Inboard is always longer. Now, they used to run them up to 2 inches asymmetry. I ain't going for that because when you take off, your inboard wingtip dragging the ground. But the more inboard asymmetry you have, the less wingtip weight you have.
Because it's carrying the line weight.
It's using the lift of the wing to carry the line weight. So we're all around that line weight. Well, if you stay under 64 ounces, you can use 15 thousandths lines. And I've heard people say, well, there's no difference between 15 and 18. My ass, I can see them 18-inch lines lagging when you're.
Well, they're heavier, they're more drag, they're,
Right, they're bowing around this.
Yeah.
So I use 15, so you got to stay under the 64.
Okay.
You kind of have to think all this out in your mind. Now, as far as the slop, let's talk about slop. I have 0 slop. I don't
believe in that.
Nah, I didn't say that. I like positive because slop will work, but you're going to have to get around. If you want an airplane to have a good track and really groove, the angle of attack, let's see, how do I explain this? What happens with a thick stabilizer is it blocks out part of the elevator, so it has to move a few degrees before it actually,
It encounters solid air.
Right, takes effect. Now, you got guys like Brett Buck, which is, he's an aerospace engineer, and I'm sure he knows what he's talking about, but they're talking about 1/2 degree of positive incidence in the stabilizer they talk about gyroscopic precession and all this other. Well, if you want to get out from that, use the lightest propeller you can get. So to me, mine is the easy method where I don't have a whole lot of schooling in aerodynamics and engineering.
Yeah, no, me neither.
If you use the lightest shit, it's common sense.
Right.
That, a Cadillac running down the road at 100 miles an hour, he's not going to make a right turn at 90 degrees very quickly. But a Volkswagen or a Porsche running at 100, because it weighs less,
can turn quicker, yeah. other
Common
things considered, but yeah. Yeah, when I read stuff that he puts on there, I'm friends with Robert Vest, the guy that made the Vest propellers, and he's the same kind of guy. He could kill you with $5 words in the first 15 seconds and you're lost,
Well,
But he's a smart guy.
Brett's brilliant, but I don't understand what the hell he's talking about. I just know, hey, if I do it this way, when I'm going around like this, it feels good. If I do it your way, it feels like shit.
Yeah, you're like, is this gonna, for me, the hardest part was to get overhead line tension for like the overhead 8 and stuff like that.
Motor offset. Now,
Yeah, well, that's what so then Larry says, well, loosen up all your screws and pull the motor out and then tighten them back down, and bam, it was better,
well, then you can use rudder offset, but then you got the airplane when it's flying in a straight line running in a crab.
Yeah, no, that's not good to have a lot. I understand the 0-0 idea. One thing that again, so I try to go back to what I know from RC. Well, your giant scale aerobatic planes, they usually have about 2.5 degrees of right thrust. And when it goes straight up, it continues straight up. Now, if you don't have any, it starts to go to the left. If you got too much, it starts to go to the right. But if you got the right amount, it'll continue straight for a long time. So I thought, well, shouldn't we have, if we wanted to go straight, theoretically, in the circle, then we should have a little bit of right thrust in there. Someone else told me, no, that's not what you want. You don't want to go straight. You want to turn. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure you want to turn left. How about that?
Well, these airplanes that we fly, I used to race sprint cars many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They ran wedge and stagger. And this is basically what we're doing with control line airplanes. The theory is exactly the same. We're setting them up to go left.
Mm-hmm.
The line rake, you want to be slightly behind the center of gravity. I have big arguments on bell crank location. I had them with Howard and just a bunch of people. I think that it makes a difference. Mm-hmm. Does it make a difference in the way the airplane flies? I don't know, but it sure makes a difference in the way the airplane feels, and I'll explain why. Mm-hmm. You have a big rock up here in the nose. Mm-hmm. If you move the bell crank farther to the back, is the airplane going to feel more nose heavy or tail heavy?
Well, theoretically, it should feel more nose heavy, but we're also talking about the position that the lines are anchored at the wingtip too, right?
Well, many say that it doesn't matter where you put the bell crank. It matters mm-hmm. where the tether is at the wingtip. That's not mm-hmm. Tether is the center of the bell crank. Mm-hmm. The wingtip is just the guide. So if you move the bell crank to the back, moving the fulcrum farther away from the rock, it feels nose heavy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Move it up this way, it relieves some of that nose heavy feeling off the airplane.
Yeah.
So does it make a difference aerodynamically? I don't know, but it makes a difference in the feel to me. Mm-hmm. So as long as you stay around the high point of the wing, I try to calculate the center of gravity and put the bell crank just behind the center of gravity. Mm-hmm. And that way, that when it's plotted out, the lead outs run parallel, straight at 90 degrees to the fuselage. And the wingtip box, you line a straight edge up, and you can only approximate it. You can't get it perfect. You run the straight edge out, and that's where your wingtip box should be. And that way, everything's in line. So when you turn it like that, it's not all trying to center itself.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just a lot to learn, and it's so to me, this has been really interesting.
Now, I'm not a world-class flyer, so there's going to be somebody come on and say, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Hey, great. The only reason why I'm not doing that, I don't have time to practice.
Yeah, well.
But this year might be different because I'm going to be spending more time in Dayton, and the field is only 4 miles from where I'm staying.
Well, what field do they got over there?
I don't know the name of it. The club is the Buzz and Buzzards
For control line or for everything?
for control line.
Uh-huh.
They got a super cool hobby shop there. I don't know if you saw that RC, Radical RC.
I've heard of it before, yep.
What's that?
I've heard of it before, yeah.
It is a super cool shop.
There was a guy in, I did a kitchen in Fargo, and there was a guy there that had a shop. His name was Paul something, an older guy, and it was almost all control line stuff. I put pictures of it on your forum one time.
Well, if you got a shop that's all control line,
No, I don't think he has it anymore is the problem. But I went in there and there was all control line stuff and a whole wall of Brodax stuff. And I was just like, wow, I can hardly believe something like this even exists anymore. And I don't think it does now.
You've been to Brodax?
Never, no. I bought a lot of stuff from there. But I'd like to go. But with all the other stuff I do, there's just always something. Every weekend I could go. I don't have enough money and there's not enough time. And so I have to pick things as they come. I'd like to go to that Joe Nall thing. I've been to Joe Nall a lot of times before. And I was there the first year they did the control line stuff. And I got some of my buddies to go down there and try it, Mike McConville and some other guys. And it was a good thing. I want to go there and learn from those guys, you know.
I'll be there this year.
Yeah, you're gonna go. Yeah, I'd like to go. I mean, I would bring all kinds of stuff to play with down there. And I don't know if you've ever been there.
Nope.
If you have any means of camping there,
No, we're gonna camp in a hotel.
Yeah, the shower houses are amazing, and it's got so much water pressure and so much water, and it's hot. And at the end of the day, it just is good to just get in there and melt in the shower and go and crash and wake up with the airplanes flying. And I don't know, it's an experience by itself, you know. I've stayed in a motorhome there. I thought about taking my van and just taking one of the side windows out and buying the smallest air conditioner I could find and put it in there and stay like that. I know it sounds kind of
Hillbilly?
Kind of hillbilly, but a lot of people do it. And if you went into them shower houses, they're all, everything Pat does down there is just first class, and they're amazing. And it's like at the end of the day, like I said, for me, when I go on these trips like I'm on here, that's how I judge my hotel. How much water pressure is there? How good is the shower work? How comfortable is my bed? And at the end of the day, you just want to relax. And man, it's a great deal. I mean, it really is. It's something else. You just have to do it once. And there's a lot of nightlife going on there. People barbecuing, and they go fishing in the pond. And I've had fish out of the pond and the whole deal. You know, it's really it's an amazing deal there. Ralph, they used to give Ralph pretty good treatment there. And so we got to go to Pat's house and saw him working when he was working on that, whatever that big polished aluminum airplane is he has there. And took us to his factory and showed us around there. And we had dinner with them out there on the, I forget what you call that, veranda, whatever. And it was cool. They were super nice, you know. And from the time the sun comes up until the time it's dark, and guys are flying at night with lights on their planes, and I mean, it's just a lot of fun. You know, you go float flying there, control line plane, boating, helicopters, 3D area, regular flying area. It's just, if you can't go there and have a good time, I don't know what you're doing wrong. You know.
Well, another good contest if you ever get to go is Huntersville.
Where's that at? Huntersville, where?
I think it's
Maryland?
South Carolina.
Okay, yeah.
Either North or South Carolina. I don't know, one of them.
I want to try to go to the Chicago one. I would like to come to your thing.
We have a nice field.
Yeah,
And
it was Larry showed me pictures he took there, and then I saw some video. I think that either you shot there or someone shot there. And
it's not like Huntersville though. Huntersville is built in the dump.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they reclaimed a dump,
Garbage dump, yeah.
and the grass there is beautiful. You know, it's got a lot of compost to grow.
I was going to say it's got a lot of fertilizer probably underneath there.
Now, Dan Banjak used to fly his jet airplanes there, but they made him quit because they're afraid they're going to blow the dump up because of the methane.
Okay.
They got methane sticking out of the ground,
Yep. Uh-huh.
ventilating. But the park is really cool. I've been there twice. I really, that's a nice park.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it reminds me of being a kid again.
Yeah, that's part of it too. I don't know whether it's the castor oil and the fuel in some cases, but it reminds me of when I was a kid and my dad would start my Cox planes, or he had a couple. And my dad was one of 5 kids or 6 kids that grew up on a farm in southeast of Indianapolis. He was the only one that got to go to college. And he loved airplanes, I think, from the time he was a little kid. He said my grandma used to give him a dime every week for lunch. And whatever money he had left at the end of the week, he would save it and build model airplanes. And when I was a kid, he had a Luscombe sedan. I can't remember the name of the company now. I seen him on eBay before. It was big, 76-inch wingspan or something. He had an OK Super 60 for it. So he started that before, it made a lot of racket. And so ever since I was a little kid, I was around it. And
My first airplane,
the smell is the point I was going to make, was the smell of it, reminds me of it.
I didn't get a Cox airplane. I'm not even sure I knew what a Cox was.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was a Wenmac T6 trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And my Uncle Jerry and my dad took me down to the schoolyard and wouldn't let me fly it. And they had crashed it about 5 times before I got to fly it. So I had to glue it back together and fly it. My Christmas present.
Got right.
For me.
So last year at my jet meet in Winnemac there, all the guys came up and I flew my at night because we had lights on the side of the building. I flew the Vector at night. And then a guy that's from Czechoslovakia, I think, he's like, I can fly. And I'm like, I don't know, don't tear up my stuff. And he flew, he did great, man. He flew the hell out of it. Well, my friend Joe had a PT-19 and someone had given it to him, a Cox PT-19. Well, I went in there and got that off the shelf, and I let about 10 guys try it, man. They had the best time. Jim Hiller put it in the AMA magazine and stuff. Here all these guys with their expensive toys. The most fun they had the whole weekend was flying them control line planes. So I did my time. I did my part to try to get some new blood. I don't know if I was successful, but
that airplane was $9.95 when it was new.
Yeah, I had 2 of them when I was a kid.
The blue fuselage, yellow wings.
Yeah, they don't really do too much, but they do fly, and it does teach you how to spin around in circles and get dizzy, I guess. They all say, well, don't you get dizzy doing that? And I say, no, when you're doing the maneuvers, you're standing still, Well,
not only that, if you know what you're doing, you don't get dizzy because you're not looking to get dizzy. You look at the end of the airplane and don't pay attention to that.
Yep. I always used to stare at something on the airplane, whether it's, sticker on the side or whatever. And that worked for me. But when I do that 6 inverted laps and it's time to do the outside loop, sometimes I'm it's still, but it's fun. So I burned 18 gallons of glow fuel last year. That's probably a record for me no matter what. So
you flew more than I did in the last 10 years. 9 years. Because I burn about 2 gallons a year, but this year is going to be different.
Yeah, it definitely was I had to make like a commitment to do it, burning that much. And some of that was on, Brodak 40 motor in the Vector,
A lot of flights.
Yeah. And then when I started flying the Legacy, well, that uses a little more fuel, a little faster, but not a lot,
Continental uses 8 ounces.
Yep. Yep.
That'll suck a gallon dry quick.
If you run that motor too rich, you're going to run out of time. If you run it just right, you got a little left over and probably just about right.
You mean to tell me you adjusted the needle valve?
I sent it to Randy and he redid the whole thing. He said that it needed to be rebuilt.
You're full of crap.
That's okay. I trust him. When I first started talking to him, I didn't know what to say, because I was just so new. But you know what? He's been super nice to me, and he's helped me out a lot. And I've had dinner with him and Esther a few times when I was working down there, and got to become a little bit, friends with him, I guess you could say. So he, when I got the 77s, I told him, I said, if you know of a 65, I'd like to have another 65. I have one 65, and man, that thing runs good, And so he called me one time, said he had a 65. Do I want it? And I said, yeah. So, he didn't have to do that. I'm sure there's lots of guys that would have liked to have that. So, whatever. Maybe those guys bought 75s, and it's not that important to them. I don't know. But
If I get my 75 before the Nats, I'm going to retrofit it into this.
yeah, you're not just going to put it in a new one?
No, it'll fit right in this.
Okay.
I
And
just
it runs so good.
huh?
It runs so good. It's unbelievable. 65 was really good too. My 51 didn't seem to run the same, or I didn't run it right maybe, but and then my Rojet stuff, that none of it compares to the PAs.
I have no experience with Rojet. I mean,
I bought the Brett Buck one, and I was probably running it wrong compared to what he says to do, and I didn't put the little spigot thing in there or anything like that, and it ran good. I'm not knocking it.
they don't have the power of a 75 though.
No, that 77's awesome. Really is. If you could never buy a 75 again and you could get 77s, you could do worse, Also have a 76 Rojet. I never ran that. I'd kind of like to try that too. But I don't know. There ain't no reason to go back to any of that other stuff when you run the 75 and it's just awesome,
It's definitely the best. Well, believe it or not, I like the Super Tigers too. I got 3 Super Tigers.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean that as a knock to anything else.
No, I mean,
all the stuff that I do, other stuff that I do, I want whatever I'm going to do to work really good, and be something I could repeat, I guess, is what it really is.
I like the Super Tiger 60s because they will run just like a PA 75.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have as much torque, There's no replacement for displacement.
Yeah, that's what I was telling people too.
If it weighed as much as as it does, and it was a 90 or 100, that's what I'd have,
Uh-huh.
But weight is a consideration for me. I mean, got an FA 80 here and a Sato 72, and they're 16 ounces. Now, if you don't think that 16 ounces of concentrated weight in the nose is a hindrance, yeah.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. I mean, I'm 6'5" and 285 pounds. It's different for you to fly something that's heavy than it is for me, for sure. If it's a 15-mile-an-hour wind that day, that thing really yanks on you. It really surprised me the first time I flew on a day like that. It was interesting. The whole thing has been really exciting and really interesting.
Well, you notice that Continental, when you go overhead, it has line tension, right?
Oh, really good. Yeah. Yeah, I swear it is the best flying plane I got, and I try to measure my other planes against that, because I don't want to wreck it and I don't want anything to happen to it, but I'd like my other ones to fly somewhat similar to that. So I keep tweaking on them and
Reed Freeze motor offset. give you overhead line tension.
Yeah. Well, so on these strikes, I put 1.5 degrees in there. So
Better than a degree inset.
yeah, well, because I didn't know what to do because other people say 0 and this, that, and like I said, it's the whole thing. I don't know, and then I think there's probably personal preference, right? Some there at least. So I read on Facebook, I'm friends with Ted Fancher, but of course, we're just friends on Facebook. That don't mean you're friends. But he had made a post on there that he uses 1.5 degrees, and I thought, well, I could have did worse then. And and the way I established it was I took my miter box saw and set it on 1.5 degrees and just kissed the front of the airplane and glued my spinner ring there and made my engine line up to the spinner ring, So I could put a little bit more in by tweaking the engine over, or I could take a little bit out by tweaking it, engine over.
On the trim, I mean, if it's working at 1.5 degrees, leave it alone.
Yeah, well, it's not done yet, so that's why I didn't know what to do, and you ask people, and they all got a different opinion, and so I had to pick something,
Let me
That's
see.
Randy, you said do 1 degree or 1.5 degrees, so.
I think the propeller is an 1/8 inch closer on the
One side to the other.
yeah. Since I measured.
Yeah, I didn't know any other way to do it, and the miter box saw that gauge on there is pretty accurate, I think. I like that airplane. That's a good looking airplane.
It's an 1/8 inch. It's 11 on this side from the leading edge to the propeller.
11 1/4 on the other or something.
11 and 3/16, somewhere in there. But the motor is sitting way back here. It has 3/4 inch extension, so the motor's back here.
Yeah, I like that look too, the long nose like that. Or, good distance behind the spinner to the motor.
Well, it gives you a better, when you do a extension, it gives you more room to taper.
The wood and stuff. Yeah, and have more wood area there.
Right. So that gives it a real nice side profile.
Right. Oh, that's a good looking airplane. I like it. I like Chris's, looks nice too.
I was there.
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit on the phone a couple times. He was real helpful too. And I asked him about that engine offset. He's like, I've been all over the place on that. I don't know what to tell you. So.
What does Billy tell him?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope to fly with some of those guys. Chris doesn't live that far away from me. I go to Chicago for work all the time. So, it wouldn't be, if he has time, it wouldn't be out of the question to put my airplane in the truck and go after work, be getting home late, but just to see what other people think. And it'd be interesting to have someone fly my airplane and tell me that it's all screwed up or, no, that's pretty good,
This airplane looks like Chris's, but it's not. Because I don't know how to explain this. I get a gloss foam cradle from Bob, so we got the same wing, but our fuselages are laid out differently, and the elevator and stabilizer is different. So they look the same, but the numbers are different.
Yeah, the same general shape is what you're saying, right?
Right. So a guy asked me, matter of fact, it was Tom Creasy. He's usually on. I'm surprised he's not on. Maybe it's because it's Tuesday, but he asked me, he said, no, it wasn't Tom. It was, the other guy. Anyway, he said, where can I get plans? So I sent him a link to the outer zone, and that gives you the profile of the Junar. And which I have that set of plans here, and I just, I didn't use them. I just looked at them. And I said, called Bob and said, cut me a foam core for Geo. And so this is what you end up with,
So what's the difference between that wing you got on there and the one that's on the Continental XL? That's a Geo-bolt wing, they call it?
The difference is, first off, is chord and wingspan. The wingspan on the Continental is 62 inches, but the chord is 10 inches. This is 11.5 inch chord and 58 inch wingspan.
In the chord, does that include the flap or not?
No,
No.
that's
Okay.
not including the flap.
Mhm. So it's a different, how about the thickness of it? Totally.
It is a different thickness. This is a thinner wing. Thinner wing means you have to build a lighter airplane.
Because it's going to go faster
No,
if it's heavy.
lift less.
Yeah.
Big Jim Greenaway used to build wings
Yeah,
like
I know. Super thick, right?
3 inches, 3 inches thick. But if you think about that 3-inch wing, think about standing. I mean, this is the common sense shit that I go through. Think about standing in the back of a pickup truck going down the road at 60 miles an hour and hold up a board, 3 inches wide. Or if you hold it up 2 inches wide, which one's going to offer less resistance?
Right. Right.
Or a big,
TLAR.
or a big piece of plywood. This is the I don't know, my unscientific way of reading.
Figuring it out, yeah. They also have the plans for that Junar on eBay. I don't know who sells all that stuff, but
Type into your Google browser outerzone.uk, and that'll take you to a free plan service, and you just download the plans onto a disk and take them to Kinko's and say, print me this out, and you got them.
Outer Zone?
Yep.
Let's see here. Outer Zone free plans collection of free vintage model aircraft.
Click on that, and then type in Bill Werwage, and there'll be 2 there, Aries and
Search Bill Werwage. Bill, how do you spell his name? W-E-R-A?
no, Werwage.
A-G-E? No, if he's watching this, he'll hate me. I can't spell his name. Aries and Junar, right there.
Right. Click on the Junar.
Yep, that's the same one. So it's the same picture they even show with it.
And if you hit download, that'll give you a PDF file, and you save that onto a stick. What do they call it? Just a regular
Yeah, one of those things.
memory
Whatever.
card, and take it to Kinko's and say, here, print this out 1-to-1.
Yeah, I was going to see if I can get these clowns at the showroom to do it. I'm glad they don't watch this. I just call them clowns. Wouldn't be getting no more work here. So there it is. So yeah, I'm going to get him to print me that tomorrow before he comes over.
Have them print out 2 sets.
Yeah, one you can cut up or what?
Right. One you can cut up, one you can look at. And if you want to build this airplane, then you just call Bob Hunt and say, send me a Geobolt wing like Sparky and Chris have.
Mm-hmm.
Not a Geobolt, but a Geo XL wing. And then you got to make your elevator stabilizer different. These are bigger.
Because that's a percentage. What's the percentage on that one?
I don't know. That looks about right.
Okay. So you didn't figure it out. Yeah. Like 24, 25% they talk about, huh?
Well, here's another real easy thing. They're talking about tail moments and this, that, and the other. If you have a real big elevator stabilizer, you don't need a real long tail moment.
Yeah.
Because you have more surface area, so it'll turn more weight. Now, the shorter coupled you make the airplane, mine is a short coupled airplane,
Mm-hmm.
the quicker it appears. It doesn't mean that it turns faster. It means that it looks like it turns faster because it's less clock time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that clock time is also calculated in the breast of the cord or the cord of the wing. You have a real breasty wing, they do turn slower.
I like real breasty stuff.
You got to shorten them up to get that back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's your tail moment there? From your flap hinge to your elevator hinge.
I don't remember.
All that stuff's interesting, but it looks like you could do that all day long, right?
Yeah, I mean,
do it.
You build
That's why
one,
I built a Shrike, because I figure it's Randy's design and it's going to work good.
you build one, and if it doesn't do exactly what you want, you build another. 16 inches is what I got.
Okay.
As far as this one goes, if if I can build another one at this weight, I don't think there's anything I'm gonna change about the numbers, you know?
Mhm.
But if I was gonna build it heavier, or if it would come out heavier, you know, you'd have to lengthen the tail and lighten the tail end up to get it to turn because it's heavier.
Mhm. Yeah, it's there's a lot to learn, and it's all interesting to me. And then even the finishing is just. I worked in a cabinet shop. I finished a lot of cabinets, but that's a totally different thing. Just like car paint is totally different. They just hose on paint all day long, and no one cares, you know. So
You have to paint these airplanes without using paint.
yeah, as minimal amount as possible.
Right.
What do you think about the silk span versus carbon matte on solid surfaces?
I've tried carbon fiber matte. Matter of fact, the Continental has some matte on it.
Mhm.
I'm not going to use it anymore.
It's not worth the cost, and
The cost is nothing. I mean,
it's not. Yeah, especially since if you want to go buy silk span on eBay, it's like $75 a box.
well, I got doctor paper.
Yeah.
Um,
What'd you use on a Nobler? I didn't see what you did there.
silk span,
All of it, yeah.
everything, yeah. All silk span.
Well, I got some of everything. I got some silk span, medium and heavy. I got some carbon matte. I got some poly span. I kind of figured I was going to poly span any open structures because I'm kind of ham-fisted, and I'd just like to have that extra durability, even if it's a little bit heavier. And I haven't done any solid surfaces yet. So,
Well, let me explain my thoughts on carbon veil. Everybody's using it. I've used it. I used it on my Thunderbolts. I used it some on that Continental. However, I've done tests where you take a 3-inch piece of wood, you know, 3 inches wide, 1/8 inch thick or whatever, a foot long, and put the veil on it, put 3 coats of dope on it, sand it, 3 more coats of dope. Do that with silk span and Jap tissue. Which one's the strongest?
I don't know. You tell me. Did you
Yeah.
do both? Did you do both sides or one side?
One side.
Okay.
Japanese tissue is the strongest, but it's so hard to work with, it's ridiculous.
Is Japanese tissue the same kind of tissue paper you put in a gift package thing, or is it something totally different than that?
It's rice paper, and it's kind of waxy on one side. It has a shiny side, so it takes very little dope to get a super nice finish. It has great tensile strength. It's even more so than monocoat, I think.
Okay.
And what happens with the, and then the silk span is just normal silk span.
Right.
What happens with the veil is that you have to put more dope on it, and by the time you sand it and dope it, you sanded all the carbon off, so you sanded all the strength away. So, my Monado has carbon veil.
Yeah, I saw that. You had it like everywhere, and then polyspanned it, or you silk span the open structures on that?
I silk span the whole thing. The reason why that airplane got the carbon everywhere on the wing is I wanted to fill the low spots. And then instead of doing it with putty and dope, or
Something like that, Bondo, whatever. Yeah.
I did it with carbon. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the airplane. It's a nice looking airplane too.
it's the same. It's the same airplane as the Continental XL.
But what motor do you got in that? A 6 Super Tiger?
Yeah.
Yep.
It flies if you flew that airplane and you flew the Continental, you couldn't tell the difference.
Really? Okay. I have some Super Tigers at home. I've been collecting, or I don't know if you call it hoarding or collecting, but motors and stuff. And
You got 60s?
yep. I got a Randy one. I got 3 of them. I got a Randy one, and then 2 other ones.
Well, I'll buy one of your stock ones.
Yeah, no, that's one of them. I think was yours. I don't know. Forgot where I got that from.
You can get it.
I bought a, listen to this, I bought a PA-51 off of eBay, and I bought a PA-51 from Gene Martin in their successive numbers,
Huh.
328 and 329. Can you believe that? I thought that was amazing. Nobody else thinks it's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty. Unless Gene sold it to you.
Yeah, it could be. But those rang good too. I'm trying to decide what to put on the Shrikes. I also wanted to try. Have you ever done the 46 VF?
Oh yeah, that's a good running motor. You have to run them different. They're high RPM.
What would you say that is like in a more modern engine? Is that like a 51? Is that just totally different animal altogether?
The VF is a ducted fan engine.
Yeah, rear exhaust.
Right, a ducted fan motor. So the timing is different. You gotta turn them up, screaming basically, and run a real low pitch propeller, 3.9 or 4.0 or 4.1 pitch propeller. And then when they get up in the air, they break and they run exceptionally well. But the trade-off for me is the weight. How much does it weigh? It's a heavier engine,
Yeah, I'm looking at it more as a so I can try what you guys did type of thing. You know what I mean?
I had one of my Vipers, Viper 4. There's a picture of it in the photo gallery on Stunt Hanger. Red wings. It says Viper.
Yeah, is that the red, white, and black? It had like checkerboard on a leading edge or something.
No, that's Viper 5 or 6. I don't know. I built so many of them things. That was from the 90s. That airplane. That was an experiment that I tried that worked really well, and I'll explain that one. But that Viper 4 had a VF-46 in it.
Okay.
But the one is the Super Glide you're talking about, the one that was in the 90, I think it was 91 Model Aviation, magazine that we get. That had a FP40 that I took and I machined the exhaust at an angle, and I had Bob McDonald build me a wraparound muffler, and I ran a Lesnerian pipe. And that worked extremely well. It was a lightweight airplane. It weighed 40, I think it was 44, 45 ounces. But what I really found that worked good, and that's why that's the same motor that's in this one, is the OS32F. I built a Sorcerer. I sold it to Fox Manufacturing, John Lowry. I guess he passed away now. But the engine sat at an angle like they do in RC, and then I had a header coming off, and I ran a Lesnerian pipe on that, and that was a 40-ounce piped airplane. That worked real good.
Right. Okay. Yeah, there's not a lot of RC engines that work good just straight up converted, is there? I mean, you got like the LAs and the FPs and stuff like that, but I mean, in the time I've been flying RC, you didn't see a lot of those, They're out there.
Well, like these Super Tiger 60s, they were RC at one time.
Yeah.
All my Super Tigers are 100% stock. They all run the same. I put a Randy Smith Venturi in them, and a Jim Lee tongue muffler. This is a Randy. They run the same.
Right. Yeah. See, I haven't even actually been around any airplanes flying. Like Larry comes over and flies. He's got a Tudor 2 he flies, and he's got the Starfire Junior thing he made. But that's about all I've actually, I guess at the Nats, but I was in the beginner intermediate category. I didn't get to see the big dogs really fly, so I haven't even witnessed half of this stuff, I just read about it. Doesn't count, I know.
You got to see it,
Yep.
Because them guys that are flying in the top 20, the top 10 or they work really hard
Mm-hmm.
at flying, and to be there, they well deserved it. They put in the,
Oh, for sure. They've been doing it forever. I think about the same thing with Leary. He's done he's done this his whole life, where I did pretty much RC stuff my whole life. So I have a lot of respect for everybody that I don't know nothing. I just want to. How do they say that? I'll be happy to sit on the porch with the old dogs and watch the big dogs play.
I don't know nothing either. Just ask anybody.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how it is, anyways, right? Everybody knows everything. Nobody knows nothing. But I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm looking forward to this summer. I bet your weather's not too bad right now, huh?
High humidity right
Yeah.
now.
But I mean, you're probably having some nice days now.
Well, I haven't not yet, but we will.
Well, I mean,
Those people who think they know everything are particularly aggravating to those of us who do.
they do, yeah. There was a thing on RCU. It said something about beating you down with stupidity, or I forget how it goes. It's a pretty similar thing. But
Don't open your mouth and prove that you're stupid.
yeah, Confucius say he who opens mouth and shows that he's stupid. I forget. Too much Ambroid when I was young.
I've been watching a guy on YouTube. He's a young guy, probably in his 30s. He's a carpenter, Theopolis or whatever, and he builds his own tools, his own bandsaw, joiners, planers.
Oh, okay.
And if you search woodworking on YouTube, I mean,
No.
I watch him because I'm going to build some of those machines he's building out of birch plywood, and I think that I can adapt some of those dovetail joiners and some of that stuff to airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
And I can use my little X-Acto skill, table saw there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a neat thing. I remember a guy had one of those. He told me about how he almost cut his finger off. It's kind of a dangerous little saw.
Yeah, I bought it from a guy out the forum, I think $40. So it's
a handy little thing. I mean, I got miter box saws and table saws and all that, right? So it's kind of different. But if you're in the hobby and you don't have all that stuff, that's a nice little tool to have.
Yeah, but do you want to drag out your table saw to cut a piece of balsa wood?
Well, what I do is if I want to cut something, I take it to work with me.
Yeah.
So like I made a bunch of engine mount stock, 3/8 by 1/2 inch or whatever. And I'm on a job where they got the kitchens I do are different than what the mill worker would be doing in the house. So I just go over to the mill worker's garbage pile and grab a piece of maple, and you can make, 20 engine mount sticks,
Well, I'm going to build a router table, and I'm going to use a regular router. And so we're talking about engine mounts now. So what you use a plunge router, and you slot these out.
I seen that. Were you doing that, or who was doing that? I saw somebody doing that.
Well, they did it a long time. They relieve and set metal pads in here.
Yeah, so they leave like where the engine's not going to go, they leave like an 1/8 inch wall thickness around or something, right?
Well,
A certain portion.
We got one guy here in St. Louis, Ron O'Toole. He did a motor crutch that you could hold up and look through.
Oh.
But it's strong because it's engineered, correctly. It's all it's great. So you think, well, why would you do that? Well, you turn this 1/2 ounce piece into a 1/4 ounce piece.
Yeah, I know. It's that's like I said. It's the RC guys. Nobody really watches weight. You go to the hardware store and buy a piece of balsa wood and put it in your Focke-Wulf and bolt the chainsaw engine on the front of it. But these, you can't be stupid like that. So you need to watch your weight. That's for sure.
These, this spinner here, I got from Doug Moon. He sent me, I think it was 2 or 3 of these spinners. They don't make them anymore. Medusa made them.
Mhm.
And he said that it was out of true, and it was. But it was worth the $50 to get the 2 3-bladed spinners and the 1 2-bladed spinner that I wanted. And you just have to work at it and straighten it up. And then I made the end here on my lathe.
Uh-huh.
The gas tank, that's carbon fiber. You just got to watch every little piece, what each piece weighs.
Right.
And if you do that enough times, you'll end up with a light airplane.
Yeah, I've been, I didn't know where to go buy balsa. Tom Morris, I know, has balsa, and then I bought some from National Balsa, I think it was, and paid extra for the lightweight stuff. I bought some from Balsa USA and paid extra for the lightweight stuff. And there was a couple hobby shops, one here in Washington and one in Indianapolis that had a huge balsa rack. So I just stood there picking through all their balsa wood and took the light balsa wood. So I have a pretty good selection of 4 to 6 pound, but that's not exactly super light, is it? Or it's good for me to start out with, at least, is how I looked at it.
This is built all 4 to 6 pound, but I've had 3 pound, but it's so hard to find,
Yeah, I mean, I bought some through Horizon in the Midwest. And it's like 7, 8, 9 pounds, you pick it up and it's like a piece of oak. I also went right to the Midwest factory and they wouldn't let me go back there and pick out any balsa wood.
Yeah, they used to, you've probably never been to SIG, have you?
I never been there. I've been past there before to go to other stuff, but
when they used to hold the contests on the runway there, they used to have factory tours. We used to go to the factory and they would let us go in there and pick out wood that we wanted. Well, they quit doing that, so I quit buying the wood.
I don't understand why they wouldn't let you do that. I went over to the Midwest factory, okay? It was a nice day. They had some doors open over there where they're processing the wood. And I stuck my head in the door and there were skids, like you pick up with a lift truck, stacked up 4 feet high with balsa wood. And I thought, you can't let me just go in there and I'm going to buy some wood, And the lady that was at the front desk said that she gave me a book and she said, you can pick out what you want out of here and I can go get it for you, but that's all we can do. And I was like, wow. Okay, never mind, thanks.
Well, usually like at SIG, they had 2 ladies there. There were 2 elderly ladies that were graders. They could go 16 grams, 6 grams.
Just by picking it up, yeah.
And they were good at grading the wood.
That's what I did at these hobby shops. I pulled all the 1/8-inch pieces out and I just held it in my hand. And from doing it a little bit, I can feel when it's a lot lighter than the other one. So then I picked out all the ones I felt were the lightest, and then I took maybe the best 4 or 6 of those, and I did that for 1/8 inch, 16th inch, 3/32 inch, 1/4 inch, whatever. And now I got a pretty good pile of what's generally, there is like 1 or 2 pieces of 3.5, but most of it is 4 to 6 pounds. And in the other stuff, I don't even know what you use it for now. Someone else also told me that generally in the hobby shop, when people come in there and these kids are building their little bridge project or whatever for school, they're looking for the hard balsa wood. They don't want it to be all soft. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but
oh, it definitely is true. And the real sad thing is the good wood from Ecuador is left on the rainforest. It's left laying on the ground.
Yeah. I hear they make all those windmill blades out of it too. That's where a lot of it's going, I guess.
Thank God we're getting back on coal. And windmills is a joke.
I think it's like it's an eyesore on the countryside. Do you drive through all of that windmill field when you go to Ohio?
I don't pay attention to that. So where I'm originally from, in the desert, there, like at Whitewater Pass, all you see is rows and rows of thousands of windmills.
Where you get up over there about before you get to Champaign going from my house, I would assume you maybe go through that area, but they're as far as you can see, and you can't stop counting them. And it's kind of an eyesore in my opinion. You know, it's just okay. It's a way to make energy and stuff, and it's green or whatever. But when does green become an eyesore? And I guess the eyesore is acceptable. You know.
I heard something pretty funny, and it made a lot of sense. Everybody wants green energy. They want green cars.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, great. Where do you think the energy came from to charge the battery?
Oh, just all of the stuff. I mean, you could. It's a never-ending thing, and you're not going to win. But there's good parts to that. I have a friend that has a what's that electric car?
I don't know.
The guy that invented not invented electricity. What the hell?
Tesla.
The Tesla. That is the fastest electric go-kart you ever rode in your life. That thing hauls ass. But you still got to charge it up. And if you're going to plug it into the wall to charge it up, that's great. But somewhere there's a place that's burning coal to spin a turbine to make the electricity that's sending it to your house. So
exactly right.
Now that I know they have very efficient ways of burning the coal now and creating that, electricity, but that's a pretty fun car to ride in if you ever get a chance to ride in one of those. I think they got that thing set. He's got the one that's got the higher performance, but I think they got that thing set just about to break the tires loose. So the whole time it's accelerating, it's just about to break the tires loose, and man, does it accelerate hard. It's unbelievable.
Well, the thing about electricity, about electric motors, is when you flip the switch, you got instant power.
Mm-hmm.
So when he hits the hammer down, it's not like a
motor. It has to come into its RPM range or anything
right,
like
that.
that.
It's got power right now.
Super torque, and it's all figured out.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. It's a fun ride.
When I first started involved in electric stunt, everybody was all hyped up on electric, and I watched them, and yeah, they looked like, yeah, that'd be the way to go. So I went to the Nats and I flew Jeff Traxler's airplane, and I had to have one because it had power. I mean, it was everywhere. But after building, I don't know, I probably built 7 or 8, regular stunt airplanes and bought all the high dollar shit. Nah, I don't like it. There's too many downsides for me.
Yeah, I'm not very good with batteries on my RC planes like that. I'll come home from work and I'll fly my airplane and I'll think, well, I'm gonna come home tomorrow night and fly it too. So I'll charge the batteries. No, best thing you can do is leave them in a storage charge and hit them before you're gonna fly. But I'd charge them and come home the next night, and I couldn't make it to the field that night. I'll go tomorrow night. I'll go the next night. I'll go the night after that. Pretty soon it's a month before I go to fly that particular airplane, and those batteries are all sitting in a full charge the whole time. That's not good for them, and then the batteries don't last very long. And it's my own fault, but it's what happens, But like I said, I like running engines and playing with that, and ever since I was a kid, I did all that. So that's what I like to do, even if it's backwards and everybody else. I don't know. They talk about since you run the engine or the electric motor the opposite direction, that gives you more line tension too. Did you find that?
There's downsides to that too.
Yeah. I just I'll learn. I kind of like the old-fashioned way. I'm like my grandmother.
Yeah, everything I'm doing now, all my building techniques are 1950s style. I'm not using any. The only difference is material. Better epoxy and better glue.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all. I even got quit using ball links.
You quit using them, or you?
Quit using them.
So what are you doing now?
Bushed brass horns.
So you just put a piece of brass bushing through there and a wheel collar on a 90-degree bend, and that's it? Something like that?
No wheel collars. I solder everything.
Okay.
It's a little old school. Is a little bit tougher to align properly,
Mm-hmm.
but they're lighter. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too crazy about weight, but it's lighter and they're freer.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I didn't even design my own hinges. These hinges
Yeah, I've
are,
seen the hinges. That's cool. That's probably really free moving, huh?
yeah, it's like power steering the way that I do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I like them. But this, you know, it's kind of a copy. You say, well, they're my hinges. Well, not really. They're kind of a copy of
Full
the,
scale.
the Russian airplane, and that Yatsenko, and it's kind of like a I don't know, what are they? Cleat, not a cleat. I don't know. RC hinges have some type
Oh,
of,
a Robart hinge, kind of.
yeah, they're kind of like Robart, but see, with the Robart, you can't get the barrel in square, so they
Yeah.
bind. You know, they're twisted.
Yeah, if you don't, whenever I use them on RC, I put it in half at a time and make sure that it falls, square to the hinge line, and then you got to leave it alone,
Right.
and then do the other half, and you could still get one just off a little bit or whatever, and, exasperates itself until you get to the end and it's all bound up, or you get glue in one or something,
These here, these are probably 6 months old. They're starting to tighten up. I think from just sitting. You know that
Yeah, you go out and fly that thing somewhere. That thing's still brand new, right?
we got about 20 flights on it. So
Yeah, that's brand new. You ain't even sweating yet.
no, but it's got dings on it already. Got a hanger rash on it. I got to fix.
Yeah, that happens. I kind of I tell people this about their airplanes when I'm helping them. I say it's a tool. When you get a new screw gun, do you throw the screw gun on the ground? No, you set it on the ground. After a while, it starts getting a little scratched because on the ground, sometimes there's sawdust, sometimes there's some grit, sometimes there's some chips, but you don't throw it around and beat it up. You use it like a tool, and that's my attitude. It's new. It's brand new on the first day you finish it. It looks beautiful. Try to keep it nice as long as you can, but eventually it's going to get some scratches on it,
And that airplane I sold you, there's a video on paint repair that I did before the Nats one year.
Oh, that thing still looks awesome. For 9 years old or whatever, it's awesome. I can't wait for the frickin' weather to get straightened out so I can go fly it some more. I'll fly my legacy first.
I enjoy it. I regret selling it, but I needed the money.
Yeah, you ain't getting it back.
I'll build another one.
Not unless you build another one and give me the other one, and I'll give you that one back.
I'll build another one.
No deal. Yeah, no, I'd like to build one. Maybe someday if I get some of these other projects done.
There are no plans for that. There are no plans for anything I got. It's all out of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see what you did there and give it a shot at least.
Yeah, just measure.
The Geo Bolt wing, right? So you'd have to get that.
That's a Thunderbolt wing.
Yeah. They call it a Geo Bolt. Why do they call it that? Because it's a Thunderbolt. That's the bolt part. What's the Geo?
Geodesic ribs.
Magnetic wing. Okay. So the Thunderbolt wing and that XL wing there are two different things. What about the that thing Walter Umlin just made? It was a Bill Werwage plane, wasn't it? The USA one.
Well, this is in the USA 1 family, but the USA 1 is really old. It's probably 30, so it's over 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The wing layout of a USA 1 and this is very close. The airfoils are similar, but this is a little thicker.
Mm-hmm. So it's not the same thing.
No.
Is there any really new designs, would you say? What would you say is the newest designs? All those Yatsenko deals?
I haven't seen any. How many ways can you attach a pair of wings?
To a fuselage, yeah. But it's, I don't know, it's just interesting that most of these designs that are popular are good designs from a long time ago, right? I mean, they were really good airplanes, popular airplanes that a lot of guys must have built a lot. Yeah, like that, you know.
This airplane is the cousin to this airplane. You know, they're all the same. How many ways can you put a wing on a fuselage?
I also see where they say, you know, the design isn't so important as practicing and getting the plane trimmed.
Well, that's perfectly what Brett Buck said in that thread about what does the color of your airplane
Oh,
your score.
yeah, I started reading that and I stopped right away.
Well, I wrote on it exactly what I thought. Yes, it does, and I'll tell you why. You got to be able to see it. So paint it a color you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if they were talking about for the judges or for the pilot or for both, and I just some of those.
The judges got to be able to see it to give you a score.
Yeah, some of those things are just that's too much, you know, bitching for me.
Yeah, I mean,
I have to minimize the bitching in my life, so I'll cut back there a little bit. But my favorite color has always been red. So you know, other than that nice pink mask he's wearing there.
yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to shut it down. It's been 2.25 hours.
Yeah, I got to go to work tomorrow and try and finish this kitchen. So I can go home sometime. All right. Thanks for all the stuff you do and putting this stuff on, man. It really something fun for me and different, you know. It's all about me.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, it's your hobby. You do what you want to do. I mean,
yeah, that's like I said, you know, everybody gets their enjoyment a different way. So
well, they rail on Charles on the forum. I don't see why they got to do that. You know, he's having fun. Let him do what he wants.
yeah, I like watching Suge on there.
Yeah, he's a clown.
He is a clown. He's fun to watch. I'd like to get him to come to my show and put on his show there. It'd be pretty cool.
Where?
To my jet meet. Ralph used to have hot air balloons come, and we did, you know, some guys got to take hot air balloon rides and stuff, and we always just did something kind of different. And when he wanted to bring hot air balloons, I thought, are you crazy? These guys are going to be like, I didn't come all this way to watch balloons and all this stuff. But man, at the end of the show, they're fighting over who gets to go in the thing and all this stuff, you know. And
not me. I don't want to go up that thing.
So every year we try to do something a little different. It'd be kind of cool to have him come and do his thing. And he seems like a little bit of a smart ass if he wants to be. So that would fit good.
Yeah.
The rest of us. Well, if you ever get coming up across the north on your way home, you know, look me up.
All right.
We'll hang out a little bit.
All right, Daryl.
Have a good night, Daryl. I love your paint mask.
That's a respirator, just with the dust filter on it.
You were awful quiet tonight, but that's all right.
I was yapping too much.
Yeah,
Thanks,
well,
Sparky. Have a good
all
night.
right. You too.
Daryl, have a good night.
Till we see you guys again, farewell. Hey, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the videos.
Right on.
Fairwinds Tight Line. See ya.
Night.
Hey.